Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
The American public saw us changing with the times and didn't glom on to hyperbolic statements of defund the police and get rid of the FBI. The FBI went through a severe erosion of public trust because of the weaponization of the past actors, because of the politicization. But us going after those folks is not retribution. Us going after those folks who they themselves failed to uphold the law and their oaths is how we are restoring public trust in it. It's the very thing I promised to do at my confirmation.
Well, the Epstein Black Book, like on day one.
On day one, roll out the Black Book.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
Here's the problem with what we're hearing right now from Kash Patel is that the American people, they don't want violent crimes to be committed. They actually don't want to be locked up for defending themselves, as it's happened all over the country. And it happened mostly during the Biden administration. Trump came back in and stood up for the rule of law. With that said, here's a post from Kash Patel regarding crime being down. In 2025, the Americans saw 1.1 million fewer violent crimes than in 2024. That same year, the FBI, that same year, this FBI arrested 44,000 violent offenders, double the number arrested in 2024. I'm sure there's no correlation. I want to give credit where credit is due, because I think it's important that we have a conversation about where we're sitting as a country. And I've got a bunch of aha moments that I've had over the last couple months. The biggest one that I think is most important that we pay attention to is that ICE deported, over 1 million people. Over 1 million criminals were deported by ICE. And so a large part of what we're actually facing right now has nothing to do with the FBI. The FBI still hasn't done what it was designed to do, and that is protect the national security of our nation. It hasn't done that. So it wants to now say that it's the new police force. And that kind of checks with what the FBI has been doing thus far, arresting people in our own communities. They now have FBI task force on nearly every police force. So they have a liaison that sits as an FBI liaison in nearly every police force, every sheriff's office. They go to FBI training centers, and they become a part of this thing between local law enforcement and the FBI. So that's not something new. Kash Patel didn't put that into place at all. That's something that's been in place for quite some time. But what is the moving of the goalposts is that the people that are most responsible for the crimes that have been committed, that have basically affected the sovereignty of our nation, affected our ability to have free and fair elections. And I'm going to always come back to free and fair elections. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I come back to the very thing that has allowed this massive degradation to happen in our society, to happen to our homes, to happen to our children, to allow them to demonize parents and have CPS show up on the doorstep and take kids away because you wouldn't affirm some crazy radical idea that there are more than two genders, which there isn't. And the poster child for everything that we've been going through is that we need a daddy. Everybody needs a daddy. Everybody should embrace the fact that the government is here to help. Well, the government's never been here to help with anything. What's more disturbing is the fact that we live in a lawless society. Most of what we actually face today is a lawless society. So I just need to tell you that over the last 6 years, I have stood up not because it was comfortable to do, not because I wanted to do it. And frankly, I wasn't chasing down elections. I was chasing down Antifa journalists. Eric Coomer decided that he wanted to run his big fat mouth on an Antifa call. And that led me to say, okay, Well, he said that don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made sure of it. But could Dominion actually steal elections? And I think the providence of all of it is that I am a system architect. I have been involved in tech for many years. And frankly, the things that we've been able to do as a company are pretty spectacular. And so it wasn't very difficult. But it did take me a lot of time to dig into the substructures of Dominion voting systems and others. But let's concentrate, focus on Dominion right now and get to a place where I was like, I know how they're going to steal the runoff election in Jan 5, 2021. And so I took that, sent that model up to, I sent it up to Washington, D.C., and they said, get over here. And then they sat me through and they grilled me for days. You had John Eastman, you had other people that were involved in those meetings, and they had me meet with other groups that I had never talked to before. And frankly, they dug into the data and came to the same conclusions, but not to the same conclusion of what was going to happen in the structure of how the election was going to be administered on Jan 5. I, down to the percentages, told them what was going to happen, that the system had to come down, it had to come back up. Once they knew who voted, they also know who didn't vote, and they could fill in the gaps with phantom and fraudulent votes. So fast forward, I got sued. I got sued right before Christmas in 2020 by Eric Coomer, who said that I defamed him. And he went on to sue everybody that I talked to, even though, frankly, giving somebody a platform to speak truth is not defamation. But it was the chilling effect that happened with Dominion voting systems and Fox News, and we knew that they were in on it. We also knew that the media, misinformation, disinformation, the parroting of safest, most secure election in U.S. history was all bullshit too. It just wasn't real. And so for the last 6 years, I've spent millions of dollars, gone all over the country, done the things that are necessary, and had to deal with probably one of the most corrupt group of attorneys that represent Eric Coomer and judicial misconduct that any person could possibly withstand, from sua sponte to having conversations behind closed doors to rulings that frankly violate the rule of law, as well as just it's crazy. It shows the actual conspiracy that's happened. So yesterday there was a hearing. There's a special master. We have a new judge. The new judge has been somewhat ambivalent on some of the things that the special master has done. And so I've been holding on to information related to David Beller and Shelley Gilman. Shelley Gilman sat on the bench in the 2nd District of Colorado, in Denver, had done some pretty questionable things. People that worked for her before had mixed reviews of her. They're the people that hated her and the people that liked her. But the people that hated her said that she just liked to ruin people's lives. She enjoyed it. But here's a post I put up on X that talks about the relationship between David Beller, who is absolutely having conversations. You have Melissa Hart, which is the ex-Supreme Court justice in Colorado that's a part of the Christopher Gregory case. So is, by the way, David Beller as a co-conspirator, as a accomplice to the crimes that were committed by Phil Weiser. Now, there's 2 different cases going on. There's a case that Christopher Gregory put out there that's the largest bribery corruption case in the history of history of Colorado by far. And then you have the other QTAM case, which is still under seal, that we don't have access to some of the information, although I've been privy to some of the information that has kind of been floating out there, and it's really bad. And the things that they have to back up the allegations of bribery and fraud and collusion amongst people inside of the judiciary, including judges and attorneys, and it's pretty damning. And yet they say that the wheels of justice turn slowly. Here's what I want to tell you. Go ahead and put it up. This is the post that I said. I said David Beller and Shelley Gilman. David Beller and Shelley Gilman go way back. They never made it into the record as Shelley Gilman violates the legal standard and put her radical leftist fingers on the scale of the Coomer case. David Beller lost his PPO malicious lawsuit against me last month. Don't worry, something's coming for you. There's another lawsuit coming for you, Mr. Beller. You just wait for it. Now he seeks to conspire with Gilman, who works for the JAG Judicial Arbiter Group, as a crooked special master who is again putting her fingers on the scales of justice and violating the position she is in. These are the faces of judicial corruption at the highest levels. David Beller sued as a co-conspirator in the Christopher Gregory corruption case that circles Phil Weasel Weiser and the Cartel Colorado government for massive amounts of documented bribery that extend the bench that Shelley Gilman sat on until she left the bench in 2023. Not until, of course, she corruptly and illegally ruled against Denver police officers in 2021 for not wanting to take the jab. And as I dig into her past, it amazes me just how corrupt and terrible she was. While stacking up accolades, she ruined people's lives from an insider who knew her well. The same Christopher Gregory case that forced the resignation of AUSA Kevin Traskos, I do need to tell you he's still there. Although we were told that he actually resigned in February, he still has not left. And his disgraced wife, Supreme Court Justice Melissa Hart, for committing crimes, and the bench failing to report the justice even after plowing through parked cars drunk, failing to appear, having her dog bite a neighbor, and getting preferential treatment as a part of the Klan by the Denver PD in both instances. The story of this is much more salacious, as is how Kevin Traskos covered up the Gregory case, as well as to the benefit of his wife, Melissa. David Beller is a pariah, and Shelley Gilman is the Coomer lawyer's accomplice in derailing justice, derailing and allowing lawlessness and personal vendettas to go unchecked. Shelley Gilman is the accomplice to try and hide the improprieties of Coomer and his lawyers, who at a point have committed crimes themselves. Shelley Gilman has stopped my attorney today from even entering a record as David Beller signaled to Shelley that there was a filing was made 10 minutes before the hearing that she needed to deal with. The judiciary is a circus joke of crooked and incompetent pariahs. Shelley Gilman will now face a lawsuit of her own as we uncover the connections that should have disqualified her and certainly allowed for the conditions where she punished me and acted erratically to favor Coomer's attorneys. They have a fraternity that operates that is corrupted to the core. She is acting corruptly to shield a Satanist who found pleasure in raping his then wife, peeing on her, and then publishing it for everyone to read. Yeah, she's quite the special master for sure. Stop the uncovering of election fraud and fraud on the court at all costs. A new legacy for radicals, it appears. Remember their names and their faces. These are the faces of evil, corrupt, crooked people who act with impunity and lie and cheat as easy as they breathe. The amount of people who suffer at the hands of these evil people is immeasurable. Stand by for the fireworks. Everyone in the state who knows their story. Everyone in the state must know their story. Add in Coomer's other retarded, corrupt, evil lawyer, Brad Clower. We will tell that story too. But for now, it's time to press the system for justice. And that seems like a good place to start. They can't get ahead of the train. We know what they would act. We knew they would act unethically. It was too predictable. They did not count on some help from an unlikely place. There's a picture of the special master that basically acted with impunity, had immunity on the bench. And then David Beller, the weirdo. But it gets even worse, by the way. I forgot to add the fact that Melissa Hart, the disgraced Supreme Court justice that left because she had health problems, but really because she was mentioned, actually wasn't mentioned, she was sued in the Christopher Gregory case, and it came to light that she actually, in fact, did violate the rules of the bench in a lot of ways. But guess where she works? Guess where she works? And I've covered her before. I've covered the Christopher Gregory case. She also, go ahead and put it up, she also works for JAG, the Judicial Arbiter Group, same group that Shelley Gilman works at. The same group and the same group of people that work together in the Denver judiciary. These are people that stick together like a cartel. These are some of the most evil people you can come up against, and they do the biddings of each other and rub each other's back. And kind of like the letter that said that the city and county of Denver doesn't operate with any integrity, it gets even worse when you talk about how they operate inside of the organization of the state, the judiciary. It's rotted to the core. These aren't judges. These are hired henchmen for the mob, and the mob being the cartel that runs the government. So I'm going to bring in our guest, Peter Bernegger. He is the founder of Election Watch. He's a data analyst and advocate. He's done some amazing things. He has nonstop put his finger on the dial and has gone to great lengths to hold people accountable, including suing Jena Griswold in Colorado, uncovering some fraud, again, more election fraud, and the fact that people inside of government like Kevin Traskos, the AUSA, Kash Patel, at every level, they seem to walk past it as if saying to us, the American people are nothing but slaves. So before I bring Peter on, I'm going to tell you this. We do know that we are censored heavily. Everyone seems to have noticed it. It becomes difficult for you to stay on one platform to move to the other. It seems like the only thing that we actually get some reprieve on is Roku. So wherever you are, if you could just pick it, share it, become the ambassador of truth. You're the ones that we rely on. and just hit the share button wherever you are, what platform you're in, doesn't matter. Hit the share button on whatever platform, whether it's X or Rumble. Give us a thumbs up, and as we move in, and just keep pushing on the dials. And yeah, I just want to thank all the people, whether we're talking about Apple or Google or Spotify or Pandora, iHeart, any of the apps which we're on. Obviously, we now know that Spotify does have the video, and the video is live. So if you're joining me there, welcome. But yeah, hit the share button, become a part of the solution, and not allowing them to create the problem of that they have with this censorship. So with that said, Peter, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe. Great to be on again.
Brother, thank you for all the work that you've done. I don't think I've ever said that right off the bat when you came on, but obviously you've been in this fight for the last 6 years. You've been just pushing on every dial, pushing on every button, and now you have a lawsuit. You have a lawsuit that you filed against Jena Griswold et al. And others.
The exciting part is that she's going to be process served. Oh, it should be on Monday or Tuesday. And this is a federal lawsuit that I filed against her along with 4 other Secretary of State employees. And this is actually national in scope. It's filed in the U.S. District Court in downtown Denver. However, it's national in scope. And what I mean by that is we found out that when you take an election, and you started with 2020, November 3rd, where the total ballots cast is reported roughly 4 to 5 months after the election to the Federal Election Assistant Commission. And that's where you can obtain those numbers. So let's just say there's 3 million cast for the state of Colorado for the 2020 election. Well, we noticed is that when we would obtain voter registration histories and the whole statewide list for various states, and I found it in Wisconsin first, is that the numbers of the total ballots cast were changing over time for the exact same election. So, and I'll give you some real numbers here. This was in my HAVA complaint filed along with the great data analyst Michael Calhoun, who lives in Colorado. So again, I'm just using the 3 million as an example, a starting point of total ballots cast. The Secretary of State, Jena Griswold, certifies that, reports the results to the governor. They sign off, goes up to the Congress January 6th, and they sign off. And it gets reported to the federal government officially in writing and her signature. So get this, we pull the total ballots cast for the 2020 election 2 years later, it changed, the number changed by 58,050. We pulled the same 2020 election total ballots cast in the year of 2024. It changed by 59,702. Get this, the last one we pulled in 2025, again, total ballots cast for the same election in 2020, it changed 211,135.
So they're covering up all their improprieties related to it and trying to clean it all up so that nobody can get to the bottom of it.
What's interesting, I have a breakdown of that last number. So now in 2025, we're looking again at 211,135 changes to total ballots cast from roughly 5 years earlier. Certified number, by the way. That included 208,000, and I'll use whole numbers, 208,000 records added, 2,200 deleted, 356 changed from vote to not vote or no vote, 267 changed from no vote to vote out of the 211,000 total. So we filed Mike Calhoun and I filed a HAVA complaint against Jena Griswold, the Secretary of State. We did obtain a hearing, a HAVA hearing, which we're entitled to when you file a HAVA complaint. It's an administrative complaint allowed by the Help America Vote Act, which is a federal act. The hearing was held, and what they did or didn't do is they refused us to call witnesses from their side, which we're entitled to do. They refused us to do cross-examination, of course, because there were no witnesses to cross-examine. They concealed from us who was going to be presiding over the hearing. And of course, who we didn't find out until we turned on the Hava screen, the Zoom screen, a couple minutes before the Hava hearing began. And lo and behold, it was Andrew Klein, one of the former attorneys at Perkins Coie. We were supposed to know that weeks in advance. They produced no witnesses. They were supposed to. They produced no exhibits. They conducted the actual investigation after the hearing was over with. Now, this is an evidentiary hearing. It's administrative in nature, but it was evidentiary hearing where we put on evidence, they put on evidence, and then the presider or the hearing board decides, were there violations or not. Well, what they did is there's a gentleman named Caleb Thornton out of the Secretary of State's office. He wrote up a sworn affidavit 10 days and notarized it 10 days after the Hava hearing and submitted it with a denial letter to us from the Jena Griswold's office, signed by Andrew Klein, and then Caleb Thornton notarized his sworn declaration. So what they really did is conducted the investigation and put in new evidence after the Hava hearing. So what that is in any administrative hearing in the United States, when you have a right to go to before, say, a county board, a state commission, the federal government, you have to have due process. And if you don't, and it's so egregious in this situation, the examples I provided, it's called a sham hearing. And a sham hearing is a violation of due process because they rigged it. And they rigged it because of this Caleb Thornton's sworn declaration, notarized 10 days again after the hearing was even held, the denial of witnesses, the denial of cross-examination. Now, the beauty of this is I've switched my strategy fairly well this year, I'll say, to I have been filing lawsuits, depending on the case, of course, and demanding a jury trial. And I'm suing these government officials in their official capacity, but also their individual capacity and violation of my civil rights. So this exposes them not only to discovery, which I believe I'll get in this case as it moves along, it exposes them to personal liability. I can go after their bank accounts, after their house, after whatever other assets that they might have. Of course, sure, I got to win the lawsuit, but I have other lawsuits that are proceeding on a similar nature like this in Wisconsin, in other states, and it's going well. Jena Griswold is, she's going to be served the lawsuit here in the next, I'll say Tuesday, she'll be served this federal lawsuit. And she is being sued in her individual capacity. And I want to get it before a jury trial out in Denver. And it's, that's going to be holding their feet to the fire, unlike anybody else has done so far.
Well, there's one problem that we have to get past, and that is the judiciary. And you keep saying that you have the Hava hearing where you have the Perkins Coie attorney that presided over it and basically violated the rules. They just violate the law. Peter, my biggest problem is that we're in a lawless society. No matter where you look, whether we're talking at the federal level or the state level, it's lawless. I mean, in essence, we are captured already by criminals, cartel, inside of our judiciary that's going to slow things down. Now, your bigger problem in Denver, because that's where you filed, is in the federal court in Denver, is that you have judges like Judge Wong who have stood in the way of getting to the bottom of this election fraud time and time again. So what's the formula for getting past that? Or is it just you going to state by state by state and then just appealing that up to another level that allows for more transparency?
Right now, I have 16 wins in election lawsuits. I'm not taking the attitude or the position that it's a liberal judge and I can't win, because I've done that and I won. Now, not every single one, of course. That's the nature of these lawsuits, but I will appeal if I happen to lose, and then I'll do an en banc appeal, and I'll keep going up the food chain. So now, don't forget, she signed off on, that's civil. Let's talk about criminal. Jena Griswold had to sign off on certification of these numbers. Their numbers for the 2022 election, the 2024 election, are changing also. Yeah. Like I gave the specific examples of the 2022 election, the 2020 election, of total ballots cast. Jena Griswold is the one who has to sign off in certifying that the election had this many ballots in it, and that piece of paper gets filed to the federal government. That's false certification. That's a criminal felony. So that's where you could bring in charges from Washington, D.C., out in Colorado. So there's other avenues that, basically we are pursuing. But first things first, we want to get this lawsuit going. Now, I want to stress again, this isn't just happening in Colorado. Basically, almost every single state we've looked at, and I'll say probably off the top of my head about 15, maybe as many as 20, the same thing is happening. The total ballots cast is changing the number over time from the certification number that your own Secretary of State, and in our case, Megan Wolf, our administrator of the State Elections Commission of Wisconsin, she certified in 2020. We found the numbers to be off of total ballots cast as high as 76,000 ballots are off from what the number she certified back in with her own handwriting signature back in 2020. And again, I encourage everybody to check your states, and you do it at the EAC website of the federal government, eac.gov, and look up the total ballots cast, and then look back, start picking an election if you want to take 2020, and look every 2 years and see if that number's changing. It's highly likely that it is.
What excuse are they giving you for the changes? Have they given you any yet?
No, they haven't given us any, and I don't think they can, because they were supposed to provide that at the Hava hearing, and they didn't. They didn't provide any evidence whatsoever. No witnesses, no documents. They saved it all, not all, but they saved what they did submit to this declaration I was telling you about that was notarized 10 days after the hearing. So, and I frankly, I have to go back and read that one. I go through so many documents a day, I don't remember the specifics off the top of my head.
All right. So when we look at the information that you've been able to share, and you let's talk about the Wisconsin one, because that one's a little bit more ripe than this one. When did you file the lawsuit in Wisconsin? Well, that's an interesting one. Is that it's a little different situation, because I did file the Hava complaint on the total ballots cast shifting over time from the 2020 election and some of the other federal elections, and they immediately said it's a conflict of interest. We will not give you a Hava hearing. You can't file a Hava hearing against us, because there would be a conflict of interest. And by us, I mean the Wisconsin Election Commission. So I took it to federal court in Green Bay, and they ruled against me. However, hold on a second, time out. They ruled against you filing a lawsuit against them, and they said it was a conflict of interest. Does that even make sense? Am I missing something? No, it doesn't whatsoever. In fact, in our state law, it says, this is a long settled legal axiom, is that when there's a conflict of interest, you don't just dismiss the complaint. What you do is you appoint an independent adjudicator, and our state statutes say that. So that's the basis of where they violated my constitutional right, and I went to federal court. But wait, it gets much, much more interesting. It's just, when I filed in federal court in Green Bay, they denied it. However, I filed in the Seventh Circuit, where it's still there today. In the meantime, our administrator of elections, Megan Wolf, has scrambled
she got the governor to sign off on passing administrative law to do what? Implement a state HAVA plan of procedures of how to process HAVA complaints filed against them. So they know that she's violating the law, and the election commission is violating federal HAVA law because they don't have procedures in place in their administrative rulemaking, which once they get it done, it has the effect of law. And right now, I published it yesterday, is that her 3-page document is the official beginning of it. She signed it. She sent it to the governor. The governor signed it on July 16th, just 2 weeks ago. And now it's going to go through the process of having public hearings, which certainly I'm going to testify before. So she's trying to correct the mistake that I called her out in my federal lawsuit. Now, this morning, the Seventh Circuit Federal Court received my SIR reply, it's called. It's an addendum type of document showing this 3-page document signed by the governor just 2 weeks ago, implementing a state HAVA plan that I was denied on earlier or late in 2025. And then I filed the suit earlier this year. So I'm going to win in the Seventh Circuit. It's going to be overturned. And then in the meantime, the state of Wisconsin is scrambling to get the state HAVA plan implemented as quick as they can, but they got to go through the whole process. And I'm going to tell you who I'm up against right now. I'm against Megan Wolf, the Wisconsin Election Commission, 9 attorneys from the Wisconsin Department of Justice, and the governor, liberal Tony Evers. So they're all scrambling right now because of my lawsuit to get a HAVA plan implemented. So it's a little different situation than what I have going on in Colorado.
So Peter, how do we get to this place where 6 years later, and I know the answer, I'm asking you the question because I want some insight of how you're seeing things, right? So sometimes we see things differently from behind different bushes, right? But we're 6 years into this. The amount of evidence that we have is overwhelming that the elections are largely fraudulent in nearly every state, and that the machines and the mail-in ballots and the system itself, whether we're talking about the voter rolls or all the different implemented things, they're all a part of this system that it literally is stealing the voice of the people, and you can't see it. It's not transparent. So how does we get through all of this data, all this information, and yet the FBI does nothing, the DOJ does nothing? We still haven't seen one person be arrested. They were able to rebrand Dominion into Liberty Vote. They're walking away from all sorts of improprieties and acting like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And we've seen elections in 2022 and 2024 down ballot all the way down, get stolen, even down to school board races. Like they're stealing everything now.
Yes.
And we sit here and the media is still like misinformation, disinformation, misinformation, election denier. Well, how?
I think it has to come from President Trump. He's the only one who has the power and authority to get it done, because the left has unfortunately rigged it through our state statutes for the last 20, 25 years. They've been working on this. While we were out raising our families, going to school, taking vacations, and shame on us for not watching this closer, including myself, until 2020 came along. But the person who has the power and authority to change this is President Trump. I'm doing this. I am changing things bits at a time. But the big thing is, such as what you're doing, is exposing it. I'm exposing it. Other patriots across the nation are. They need that information still to be able to sway the public opinion, which I'll point out, I think we've done that. If you look from 2020, 2021 till today, the public knows now we've accomplished that, is that they know that the elections are being stolen. They were stolen, they are being stolen. So that's a big feather in our cap right there. The bottleneck is going to be the House, the Congress, the Senate, the deep state, the fourth branch of government, the bureaucracy, the judicial courts. As citizens, it's extremely difficult to break through that. And that's why I revert back to President Trump. He's the one who has to do it. And of course, I'm not happy with what's happened so far. Certainly not enough.
All right. So we have these lawsuits. We're going through the process. We're heading into the midterms. It's like deja vu. I look back at 2018 and I feel like it's almost identical. Like we're almost in the same, like this washing machine. You know, we had the House, we had the Senate, we had the presidency. Nothing happened. They obstructed President Trump from getting things done. We head into the midterms. He ends up getting impeached twice. You know, we're heading into these midterms with the same fraudulent systems in place. Give me what's the playbook look like for us? Because it obviously is not happening in the administration.
Well, I would tend to disagree. Is that on Tuesday morning, the U.S. Supreme Court has demanded that all the briefing is being to be in for President Trump's executive order on the mail-in ballots. They're going to make a decision very quickly. Praise God that it's going to be in our favor to secure the elections and the mail-in ballots. So that's coming. We're going to have to wait for the court's decision. But if they ask for briefing by Tuesday morning, they're going to make a decision very quickly. And they obviously know the midterm election date is happens to be November 3rd this year. Right. It's coming up.
Let's war game this. They get rid of the mail-in ballots. The states defy it because the states have been defying everything that President Trump has put into place. He's dropped 14 executive orders in the last 9 months, and over half the states in the United States, in one way or another, are defying most of those orders. They're basically just saying we're not going to do it, which is, I mean, it is treason. But let's hypothetically say that the Supreme Court comes out, because remember, they've already said that they don't see the Supreme Court as a legitimate body. You have California, Colorado, New York. You have Mamdani that says he's not going to follow any of the election standards if they're put in play. Virginia, Maryland. I mean, I can go through a list. I mean, there's a long list. Michigan that says that basically they're not going to play by the rules, even if the Supreme Court rules that way. So let's hypothetically say that the court comes in and says, okay, no more mail-in ballots. How does the fight go on from there when the Supreme Court states the
executive order gives the authority to the head of the postmaster, U.S. Postmaster General, the top guy who's on our side. Yeah. It gives him the authority to not deliver those ballots in a state that doesn't follow what that executive order says. And I believe that he'll do it.
Okay, but he said that he wouldn't do that now. He already said that.
Yes.
And yet they delivered all of those ballots in the state of Colorado for mail-in ballots, and that was before the primary happened, but after this mandate from the U.S. Postal Service. They still delivered them.
Yeah, but there's an injunction on the there's an injunction on the First Circuit Court stopping the EO, which actually helps us right now because there's a split between the DC Circuit and the First Circuit, and that's an exact reason why the Supreme Court took it up.
Okay, all right, you're right, and I think that kind of explains a few other things. I was talking about, because there's been 3 executive orders related to elections since President Trump took office in 2025. Right.
Yeah, and don't forget too is don't always blame the Democrats in the sense of I don't. Who's holding things up right now is the Republicans. It's the John Thunes, the Mitch McConnells if he's alive. So it's really I mean, we know we have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and who's holding it up? It's not the Democrats.
Yeah, well, this just shows you that we do have a uniparty that are owned by a select group of people that are globalists. These are people that are for around the country. They're just team evil, right?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
So let's say hypothetically that they rule against us and they say none of the mail-in ballots can stay in place. It's even though Hava kind of talks about not having mail-in ballots. Let's say hypothetically they say, okay, we can have mail-in ballots. Are we cooked? Is our chicken cooked?
If we can have mail-in ballots, or
if they just let, willy-nilly, unsupervised mail-in ballots just to continue, just anyone can.
Yes, we are cooked. Now, the only thing is I'm pushing hard as I can with my contacts is to, you have to bring in criminal indictments. Now, I was promised this multiple times over the years.
So was
especially when Trump got in office, right? So you know what I'm talking about. There was supposed to be massive indictments and arrests of election officials nationwide and international, by the way, too. All right. If Trump would do that yet, if he would, and he's got the power, there's ways to do it legally. If he would do that yet, I think that would send a shockwave through the people who are committing the election fraud. And it's like, wait a minute, they're indicting and arresting, and there's people in handcuffs every night on TV. I'm not going to get involved in this time. I'm not going to go to prison for this. And of course, the minute they indict him and get him in there, they're going to have some that start squealing. Now, this is what should happen. It should have happened already, but it's been quite the cluster at the United States Department of Justice and FBI and other investigative agencies, and that's I don't even want to comment on
it. This is where we get into, Bukele, is it Bukele? The president down in Brazil. He said, if you don't get rid of the rotted judiciary, you cannot solve any problem. You don't get the judges off the bench.
Oh, in El Salvador.
Yes. El Salvador. Bukele, right?
Yes.
We have a we have a judiciary that President Trump got to taste it up front and personal. It is rotted to the core with radical leftist communists. I mean, it's almost as if we were already in a communist state because it's lawless. Given that, how do we get rid of the judiciary when it's like a sleeper cell, like all the positions of power, all the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branch. President Trump is surrounded by an administration. Some are good, some are bad, some are sleeper cells. I mean, you had Pam Bondi, who do nothing Bondi, right? You have all this stuff happening, right? And you don't know who to trust because evil likes to smile and tell you they're doing the best they can while not doing anything. Tulsi Gabbard stepped out of the DNI office. You had Pulte came in. They gave up some information, but that information was heavily redacted. And now you have kind of an unknown resetting after nearly 2 years. And we're just trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to get behind door number one, right? What are we going to get? Well, and if we don't get rid of the judiciary, aren't we back in the same place? Aren't we playing from the same set of deck of cards where it's just stacked against the American people?
But why not we go right back to sounding like a broken record, go back to Jim Jordan. And what party does he belong to? And I mentioned Jim Jordan, the congressman, because
he betrayed me. He betrayed me in 2020. I was talking to his office over and over and over again.
So was I.
Yeah.
So was I. He is the one who has the power to take on these federal judges who are just gone rogue. And that's maybe even a polite term for it. So where's Jim Jordan again? And this is where we got to get citizens to start primarying these people. Unfortunately, we should have done it, 2 years ago. But here we sit now, and we got to get rid of John Thune, a Republican, and Mitch McConnell, a Republican. John Cornyn, Republican. But thankfully, he's gone, but he's still there yet.
He's a terrible human being. So
let's identify the real problem here. We can complain about the Democrats all day long, but they're not the ones who have the trifecta. They don't have all three branches. We do. And it's absolutely being squandered right now.
Yeah, so I want to point this out. The best is yet to come. Said the Senate is not confirming Trump's federal judges. So the judicial appointments by itself would have a large effect on the bench, right?
Sure. And then all the other recess appointments that he could be making normally.
But they won't let the recess appointments happen.
The EAC is supposed to have 6 commissioners. Right now, today they have 0. The FEC is supposed to have 6 commissioners. They don't have any. It's a disaster. And then Trump's term is now going to be going down into the back end of the last 4 years.
Do you think that there's this is where I get into, I'm a little bit of a scorned ex-wife a little bit after 6 years, right? So I've spent millions of dollars on legal bills. I've been called everything from a racist to a homophobe to a transphobe to an election denier to a MAGA podcaster, ignoring the fact that I'm a system architect. I'm very good at what I do. I have 2 amazing companies that are doing amazing things on the cyber side and on the code side. So I understand how this is all built completely. But I feel, and I guess I'm asking you to talk me a little bit off the ledge. I was talking to David Clements about this, and he's like, Joe, let me talk you off the ledge. And I'm trying to find the tribe that can see a path that I can't see. Because everything seems to just resonate around the bottleneck here, which President Trump is going to have to make some unpopular decisions. He's going to have to be the Julius Caesar of our time. He's going to have a Julius Caesar moment where he just puts the staff down and literally just annihilates the evil. But short of that, where are we when we have our betrayers inside of Congress? I mean, these are Republicans, Peter. These are Republicans. These are people that.
Yeah, I think there's a log jam that could be broken, and it's going to be broken. Keep your eye on the 2 grand juries. There's 2 down in Fort Pierce, Florida. Now,
yes.
People always refer to it as a Russian collusion hoax. When you look at the facts and the details and read the story, it has a heck of a lot to do with elections. And when those people start getting indicted, they're going to squeal. There's always going to be, whether it's Clapper, Brennan, Obama, Clinton, whoever else is going to be indicted in there, Comey, they're going to start squealing, and because they don't want to go to prison for 20 years. They're going to start spilling the beans. They're going to. I always have been tweeting, who stopped the vote count on the night of November 3rd, 2020? That's still such a critical question. And I think one of those down
what was his name?
Be indicted in the grand juries in Fort Pierce. They know. I think they know who stopped the vote count that night. I have my suspicions in some circumstantial evidence, but that's a vital question to have answered, which hasn't yet. And other such situations, I think, are going to come out when those indictments are coming out of Fort Pierce, Florida.
Does it rhyme with Pompeo? I just came out and said it because
I think I'm sorry when you're. I have my guard dog Lucy here.
There you
to
go,
show
Lucy.
the audience, and she's getting hungry, but it rhymes with CIA.
Yeah, I know. But Pompeo was the head of the CIA, so I mean it checks. Remember on Jan 6th,
yes.
I was literally at State Department meeting with counsel for Pompeo with Matt DePerno, a few other people, a deputy secretary of state, and other people that were there, and we presented information, and he started sweating, right? And Pompeo snuck out the back door. He wouldn't meet with us, but initially he wanted the meeting, and then he's like, "Oh, you had to scurry away." So
what a traitor he has turned out to be to our country since he left that position. All the things that have come out with evidence and documents. What a disgusting person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you spelled it out pretty clearly. I want to put this up here because this was something that you put up. This is a post that you put up. It says, "Dear President Trump," I'd like to, if I can, read this to you because this is something you put up there to talk to him. But dear Mr. President, the election fraud is sovereign. The election fraud is sovereign fraud, and you know that. It is not China, although it has had their hands in it. The election fraud is coming from our own government, CIA, FBI, DARPA, DIS, DIA, the State Department, and his subcontractors, U.S. Army, and others. Mr. President, who stopped the vote counting in the evening of November 3rd, 2020? Name them. Continue along with the deep state, corrupt U.S. organizations such as NGOs, naming just one out of the 55,000 we identified, ActBlue, and international actors such as Dominion out of Canada and Serbia. These emails below show there are tens of thousands of these emails. Mr. President, why was the U.S. Army out of Fort Huachuca found inside of Dominion EMS computer server at the county in the United States? Why did a U.S. Army officer, when we showed him the proof and asked him why they were in our voting systems, did he get white as a ghost, then abruptly end the conversation and walk away? Mr. President, why is Georgia Tech University professors meddling in our election servers joined at the hip with DARPA? Why are they inside our election networks? Would you like to see the emails, the contracts? And you put a bunch of other people on this, as well as the letter from Sheriff Darleaf. Now, these same emails, by the way, were the ones that had a familiar person in the middle of it. What was his name?
I don't have my glasses on. I can't see.
Eric Coomer. Eric Coomer. Eric Coomer. He's all over it. And this was the basis.
Tell me, Joe, what in that tweet of mine is not accurate? And I have the contacts and the documents to back up that. And I didn't want the President of the United States and his piss poor consultants point it to China and just blame it on China and leave it at that. And that's unfortunately what I think he did that night when he addressed the nation.
Yeah, well, I believe that we got light. We got the justice light that day, right? It was like, okay, we're gonna get a little bit of it. We have the proof. I just want to I'm reposting your posts right now.
Well, remember the documents that were released, which I read every single one of them. There was China trying to do this and that. They never achieved anything except maybe get some of the voter rolls, which frankly, I mean, I realize there's two different, the ones they would hack directly, but you could go buy them publicly. So if they want the voter rolls, they could fill in the rest of the data off the dark web.
All right. So I want to, you had another post that you put up that I'd like to talk about. And this is the white paper. Let me grab this really quick because I'm going to repost this too. This is a clarifying the federal court win yesterday about the Executive Order 14399, the Executive Order for mail-in ballots and elections. Important, the D.C. Circuit did not uphold the legality of Executive Order 14399. It affirmed denial of the preliminary injunction because the liberal DSCC, which is the court entity challenge, was likely unripe on the record before the district court on May 28th. This was procedural, not a merits ruling. Still a very big win. The court emphasized EO 14399 is not self-executing. The claimed injury depends on future DHS and USPS action. Plaintiffs could return if agencies acted unlawfully. The court did not need the EO constitutional or statutory validity. The D.C. Circuit also refused to consider developments after May 28th because they were not in the appellant record, including the June 2nd USPS proposed rule and the DHS implementation activity. It also did not affirm the district court's other merits discussion. There are two separate lawsuits, DSCC v. Trump. The plaintiffs in that is Democrat political organizations and congressional leaders. May 28th preliminary injunction denied as premature. July 28th, D.C. Circuit number 265193 affirmed. California v. Trump. This one's the one that drives me crazy. Plaintiffs 23 states and D.C., including Wisconsin. June 25th, summary judgment granted. Portions of EO 1433399 declared void. Federal agencies enjoined. This actually led, so this is the one we're talking about that led to it going to the Supreme Court, correct?
Both of those cases, because the Supreme Court takes up cases for certain reasons. One of them is when there's a major dispute on a hot topic between two circuits. So you have the First Circuit saying the executive order is basically void or not legal, And then you have the DC Circuit saying it actually could be legal, and opening the door for more lawsuits down in the future is why I post this clarification tweet. But that's exactly why the Supreme Court took it up, because of the dispute between two circuits. And it's good that this happened, because otherwise we
wouldn't even had it. It would be ripe, and it wouldn't ever get to the Supreme Court.
Perhaps it probably would have had some more briefing to do, and months would have gone by. So, but this is exciting in the sense of if the Supreme Court asked to have, yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before, they said you have briefing, by early next week. That means they're going to make a decision very quickly.
Where do you think that it goes from? And I guess that this is the problem that I have with all of this is that there's a lot of people. There's Peter, there's you, there's me, there's David Clements, there's Jeff Lindbergh, there's Mark Cook. I mean, I go down the line. There's a large group of people there that have institutional knowledge. Drodson Smith, right? Jeff, Lone Raccoon guy.
Jeff O'Donnell.
Jeff O'Donnell. You got a lot of people that fill in the gaps, and they haven't tapped those resources collectively. It's almost like they've relegated the group to, okay, you can talk on social media. They're still doing as much censorship as they possibly can on someone like me, period. So they'll allow you to talk a little bit, but they won't allow this cohesion to happen where it all comes together. And all President Trump has to do is bring in and say, Wreck-It Ralph. Here's the guys from Sandia Labs. Here's the guys from the university. Here's the mathematicians. Here's the computer programmers. Here's the system architects. Here's the researchers. Put it all together in one place and say, okay, here's all the stuff that we have. Like, sit in a room and get it all done. And within a week, we could have a case that shows you that all 50 states are embroiled in a conspiracy to defraud the American people.
Okay. First off, there were people in there, such as Kurt Olson, Clay Parikh.
Clay's an amazing man.
Ben Cotton, all right? Mm-hmm. All those people, to my knowledge, except one, Heather Honey, have been ousted recently, very recently, all right? And the DOJ has taken the position that they want to do it all themselves. And you hit the nail on the head, is that the problem is they don't understand all this, because we've been studying this in depth, in detail, and obtaining all these records for 6 years. And they can't come along in a couple of months or a couple of years. And of course, they have all their other work on top of this to do day to day, I'm sure, for other issues such as, boys and girls locker rooms and all the other, mayhem that's happening right now in the country, or was happening at least on that issue. So they purged some of the patriots from the room already out of DC, and they want to do it themselves. Problem again is their ignorance. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's a factual statement. They're ignorant of how bad it is, what all is happening. I have a list of 83 election frauds. I'm talking major election frauds. Either it's bribes, the Dominion machines with connecting to the internet, or the compiler, the disappearing compiler. You name it, ballot harvesting. When you list all those out, there's 83. When I've told people that in DC, their eyes gloss over, their jaws drop. They don't believe it. The shifting of these total ballots cast. That's another one. How can you have 210,000 different number from what you had 5 years ago or 6 years ago? Obama, we caught Michelle Obama on videotape. There's a complaint that a friend of mine has filed right now where Michelle Obama's organization is paying people food, water, entertainment, bus rides, paying people to go to the polls to vote. And a friend of mine, Jay Stone, has that filed as a federal complaint right now. So this big long list, they don't even know it exists. They don't even know all the ways, let alone each individual specifics on top of that. that you have to do a deep dive in and really understand the situation, what's going on. So it's a mess. It's a mess at the DOJ. There's no bulldog there to take the bull by the horns, go hard after this. They had a guy, Assistant U.S. Attorney General out of Missouri. He was supposed to be the national election fraud guy for prosecuting. Was an absolute waste of time. Then we had Kurt Olson. He got ousted, unfortunately. Thankfully he got put on the team down in Fort Pierce. He's helping those Joe DiNovo, is it, and his wife, prosecute people down there. But it's a mess and it's a waste because all this time. Now I know they read social media posts. They read some of my reports and yours and others because I've seen them on their desks. And they've talked about them. They've asked questions.
Yeah.
But they refuse to let patriots like us help. Even just supplying information, more detailed information on what they have already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did not know that Kurt Olson got pushed out. It does not surprise me, but that just happened.
Yes, it happened recently. I would say within a month ago.
So we're back to square zero again, right before the election.
We are, and we have a bunch of filters at the White House. Unfortunately, I'll name Susie Wiles, Chris Levita, Amy Gleason, who are filters at the White House, who a lot of this information doesn't get to President Trump. President Trump has retweeted me now, I think 3 times, mainly on smurfing, the criminal money laundering into campaigns. But he saw it originally, the first time, from one of my tweets. And, he never would have picked up on it probably if he didn't see that on his own when he was perusing X. So later on, he received some of my reports, or his people did, and he did read them. But moving it along, to getting something actually done, that's a whole nother ball game, because I know for a fact he's told attorneys and staff in the White House saying, I want this done, go do it. And the people say, yes, sir, we'll get it done, Mr. President. They walk out the door, nothing ever happens. They never do a thing about it.
Yeah. Peter, I appreciate you coming on. You just named names. I actually have all of their email or their phone numbers. I plan on sending them text messages this week. Just want to make sure that, I don't understand how people can be that evil and look at the American people as
it's greed and drunkenness on power and greed for money, and that's what's happening at the White House, unfortunately. But what isn't happening at the Congress and the Senate too?
All right, Peter, thanks for joining us, brother. How do people follow you? I know how to follow you, but just to give them an update of how to follow you. We've been putting in the your website and things as well, but how they follow you? At
Peter Bernegger on X.
Okay. Obviously, I follow you. And you also have a website. I want to put that up too, which is the electionwatch.info. That's electionwatch.info.
There's a lot of great articles on there, especially about smurfing, the campaign money laundering. There is a bill, I'll leave you with this. There's a bill that U.S. Congressman Brian Stiles, who heads up the committee overseeing the FEC, has gotten passed and out of committee. The committee, thank God, voted 11-0 to forward it. Now we're pushing, and I'm going to publish about this soon, to get a vote on the floor. So, and it would really tighten up existing law that has a bunch of loopholes in it that platforms such as Act Blue are taking advantage of.
It's what always amazes me is that we have them, man. We have them dead to rights.
We do.
We have them. We have them all. Like we have them all. And this is the part where I say, and so Harrison put this up, and I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm not trying to, supplant anything to you or give you any sort of suggestions. I'm not giving anybody else any suggestions either. But he said that of the times that communism has tried to take over, every time that it's been defeated, or every time there's been a coup of the sorts that we're dealing with right now, it has taken a forceful interjection of the military in order to stop it.
Yeah,
every time.
I saw that.
And so I think that we're in that place right now where I pray that that is not the case. But man, we used to fight the wars in the street, right? We used to take care of evil. We used to push evil back into the hole it came out of. And now we're okay with walking by it on the street as if it's just a part of our society. And I think that's what's wrong, Peter. I think we have to find our God courage. We got to find out what it means to be a man. And that doesn't mean to be violent. I'm not saying be violent. I'm saying at some point we have to stand up and realize that it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. They're just team evil, right? There's team evil over here, and there's the good American people over here. And we've just got to say no. We just got to stand and say, look, we're finished. We're finished with being slaves in this surveillance.
We have to find a way to bring back accountability. And there's such a lack of accountability that the perpetrators just continue on and even get worse over time. And they take more and more and more. And we have to get back to holding people accountable when there's wrongdoing. And we're still not anywhere near that right now.
Yeah. I would agree with that fully. All right. God bless you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Man, what an amazing man. He's been fighting just relentlessly to get to the bottom of all of the fraud that we deal with. And look, I keep getting messages while I'm on here from people that are talking about the fact that, Joe, this doesn't work. And they're stopping me from actually getting on Pilled. And Pilled's not going to stop you. Pilled is 100% a free platform. I'm just going to tell you have an internet problem. Now, the other stuff that you're dealing with, you're the arbiters of reality. You're the people that actually push truth forward. So you have to be the ones to hit the share button and talk about this interview that we had that was just absolutely amazing with Peter. I want to reiterate what we just said. We already have all the information, guys. We already have all of the proof. The Kabuki theater is the fact that they're just walking around saying there's nothing to see here. They're liars. And sooner or later, accountability is going to come. And it's going to come on the edge of a sword, or it's going to come on the edge of an order. Those are the two ways it comes. But people like me, people like you, we're long past the ability to sit and watch evil just run amok on our children, on our society, on our country, and watch them steal and pilfer and give to foreigners what was never theirs to take. And it doesn't matter what country we're talking about either. I put up a post earlier that said Netanyahu, I was putting something up related to Ash Epp, who put something up, and it said Netanyahu is more likely, because he said he was a descendant of Moses, and I said he's more likely a descendant of Satan. And I got some pushback on that. Netanyahu, Joe, come on now. And I'm thinking to myself, are you serious? He was a part of the stand down order on October 7th that saw Israelis be slaughtered. See, not doing something is just as much of a betrayal as causing something to actually happen. And so you can't do something that I find unforgivable. People become victims so that they can actually create a story and a justification to go in and basically turn an entire area to glass. And by the way, that was Lindsey Graham that said that. Let's just turn it all to glass about Gaza. And I'm not taking a position for or against the Palestinians. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is that we have to stop this zero-sum game. That, oh my gosh, it says in the Bible. It doesn't say in the Bible, number one. What it does say in the Bible is that nobody comes to the Father except through me, through Jesus. Just kind of like a curse, frankly. But this idea that we have to, what you say is truth, and what everybody else says is not true. That stuff's got to stop. It's got to stop. The idea that you have this thing that's happening right now with even like Fauci. You got guys like the Krassenbergers or whatever, Krassenstein, the Krappenstein the brothers that come out and say they want to support Fauci. You have a group of evil people that are evil. Call them evil. We have this technocracy that gets to decide, hey, we're not going to let Joe speak because, frankly, he's figured it out. We don't know how he figured it out, but he's figured it out. We're going to do everything we can to silence those around him. We're going to do everything we can to destroy the truth because, frankly, the truth is just inconvenient to the globalist agenda to destroy everything that is good about America that we've been fighting for 250 years. At some point, we are going to get to the place where there is accountability. We're going to get there. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Fauci a little bit. And we're going to talk about this Team Evil. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about with Team Evil. And I'm going to go to Dr. Z, who was talking about this and what Bill Gates said in 2015. And I'm telling you, they've already told us what they're going to do. They've already told us. They've already told us exactly what they're going to do. And we are just watching them do this to us. Victimize Americans. Create some sort of stupid victimology behind DEI and racial this and everyone's a racist and everyone's a homophobe. Man, people don't care about that, but it's all run by one specific group. One group. We just got to make a decision on what we're willing to do in order to take back what was never theirs to take. Commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about it.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Oh, our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Bill Gates, 2015, everyone knows this, spoke that the world population needs to be reduced by 10 to 15% because of global warming through the reduction of the world population through the use of vaccines. Next. In 2020, the same Gates said 7 billion people must be vaccinated. Next. So here's my question. It's a rhetorical question. Why would I take a vaccine for my health, which is financed and produced by someone who wants to decrease the world population?
Why would I want to do anything with a guy that is so diabolical that he thinks that you can somehow hug a tree? This is the same Bill Gates, by the way, who every year he would go on vacation with his high school sweetheart and, play romper room. And that was part of the deal that he had with his wife when he married her. This is that guy. She finally walked away from him because she thought the guy was diabolical. This is the same guy, by the way, that had long relationships with none other than Jeffrey Epstein. And we know this about Bill Gates, and yet they tried to rehabilitate his character. How do you rehabilitate a guy's character who sleeps with young girls? How? Underage, teenage girls that were pimped by people in the government and people of power and authority so they can get what they want. But they really wanted that anyway because they were sick deviants. These are the people telling you that you have to kill off 15% of the population. Is it just so hard to understand where we are right now with stolen elections that you can't have? Let me put it this way. You cannot have what is happening in our country and around the world where you have open borders and the military doesn't show up, and it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, there is a deliberate action to make victims of people in those countries, to destroy the ethos of those nations. They are using third world maggots in order to destroy first world environments, opportunity. They want to make us equally suck across the board, and they want to bring in animals to do it. And I'm not talking about the fact that there aren't good people in countries in Africa, but if you want to talk about it realistically, the reason why those countries are still third world is because of people like Bill Gates, who comes in and says, I'm here to help. I'm going to give you resources. You know what that's code word for? That's code word for the CIA is going to come in and destroy the sovereignty of your nation by using dog whistles like genocide, ethnic cleansing. You guys don't understand democracy. And what are we dealing with now? Everywhere you turn, it's democracy, democracy, democracy. Oh, they're trying to subvert democracy, democracy, democracy. We're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. And yet, as I sit here and have this conversation with you, and I hope that you're getting something out of this that's more than just me preaching at you. I'm not trying to preach at you. I'm trying to get you to understand that the facts are not supported by what the radical left and the people that are globalists are actually accomplishing. And if you really look at it, closing the border should not have been a huge accomplishment in 2025. It shouldn't. It should have been common sense. How do you protect the interest of American people? Getting to the bottom of fraud shouldn't be some sort of dog whistle that you have, Gavin Newsom and others stand up on a stage saying, they're just trying to take money away from good people. No, they're not. They want to stop the flow of money to USAID and people are going to starve, but they're not. And the thing that I think happened, and if I just look back on it, I think the reason why God's like, listen, back in 2007, he thinks, I think you should go to the Middle East. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to go there. And I had nothing good to say about them, by the way, in 2007. Nothing. I called them names in 2007. I hated them based on what they did to my brothers and sisters in 2001. I wanted nothing to do with them. I would walk into a restaurant, and the amount of hate that I had in my heart for people that I called really bad names, I had no tolerance for them. And then I went to the Middle East, and I learned the language and understood the culture and met with the people. And I saw the lies that were perpetrated by the American people on their countries and the bombs that dropped that destroyed entire generations. We created the terrorists that we have today. We created them. Look, you bomb out my family, I'm going to find a way to get back at you. The hate in my heart will grow. And I pray to God that it wouldn't grow, but it will. You think that they're any different over in the Middle East? You think they're any different? You think you can just walk in there and say, weapons of mass destruction, we'll come in here, boom, killed an entire village, wiped out a bunch of children, women and children. And by the way, let's go back to what Madeleine Albright said about when we went into the 90s into Iraq, where 500,000 women and children died. And she said it was worth it. It served American interests. Think about that. When I said that I wish she would rot in hell when she died, and everybody's like, I can't believe you said that about her. And I was like, she was diabolical. But the same thing that Madeleine Albright said about the people there, they're saying about the people in America today. And they're not discriminating against Democrats or Republicans. The only people that are doing that are the people that wear the R's and the D's. See, they brought this pandemic. We knew it was a weapon that came out of Wuhan, China, out of a lab in Wuhan, China. We knew literally within 30 days, go back and check it. And we were told by people like NPR that, oh, this is just another conspiracy theory. They said it came from a lab in Wuhan, China. And anybody that believes that, only 40% of the people believe it, they're retards. And NPR turned out to be nothing but the CIA wearing a ski mask. Everything that we've touched, everything that we put ourselves up against is always handled by this guise of good, which is really just team evil. Team evil. And what happened in COVID, what happened with Fauci, what we deal with right now, it is, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where the lie begins and the truth, where the truth begins and the lie ends, and because they have made it so salacious. They have made it so disgustingly evil and gross that nobody wants to put their hands on it. And I'm not talking about just one person not wanting to put their hands on it. I'm talking about nobody wants to put their hands on it. You can't get Jim Jordan's office to do any good. Why? Because Jim Jordan's in on it. Thomas Massey stands up and says something, he gets slapped down, and all of a sudden they primary him out with an older white dude, older Jewish white dude. Sorry, let me just reiterate that. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not Jewish. What matters is that we are under occupation in our country, whether we have the mosques that are being built across the country, and now there's nearly 5,000, I believe, or 4,800 of the mosques around the country, or we're talking about the fact that a vast majority of positions of power and authority in the judiciary, 50%, 55%, now is all held by one group of people over in a little country in the middle of the Middle East. I'm not going to say what it is. You go look it up. And then we get told, well, they actually value education more than anyone else. And I'm like, wow, have you ever met the Asians? Sorry, but I don't. Last I checked, the person that gets the highest scores in the ACTs and the SATs out of high school is Asians. So much so that they had to sue Harvard because they didn't want too many Asians coming in there into Harvard. It's a true story. And won. Because they had this thing where they were just punishing them for being smart. Everywhere we turn, we are left with even more lies. Let me put this up here. This is Thomas Massey, by the way. I want to put this up because I think it's important. He put up, it says, waiting for y'all to discover Republican leaders in D.C. also have scheduled an October recess. There are only 8 full work days and 8 half days before the midterm election. If it looks like we're intent on squandering a majority until you understand uniparty is always the majority. You see this? Andrew Colvin says, do you realize how rare it is to have a Republican trifecta control the House, Senate, and the White House? It's only happened 5 times in the last century. Twice under President Trump. When I tell you that we are in a really bad place, when I tell you that we're in a really bad place, and that recess appointments could happen in August if they would just let the recess appointments happen in August. But John Thune is a terrorist traitor to our country. He's a terrorist traitor. He's a traitor to our country. And he's a Republican. And we could talk about the fact that the Kabuki Theater, and they stand up there and they say that they're working for the American people and they use the right dog whistles. The reality of it is they don't work for anybody but themselves. They're stuffing their faces and whoever it is that the overlords that give them money and stuff their pockets are. And they're all old. Did you ever notice that? They're all old. They're all old and frankly just disgusting. I understand why social media platforms like X have put me on the ban list and made it impossible for people to connect with my content. Because they're afraid. Because I got this thing going up inside my brain that makes it easy for me to put all the pieces together. And sooner or later, they will come for me. They just figure that they'll do it through a rotted judiciary, or they'll do it through. And they have no idea when you press people into a corner what those people are willing to do. And I've been standing up for 6 years. But I've watched millions of Americans die. I've watched what we did in the Middle East. I've watched the fact that when I went to the Middle East, I had a paradigm crash. And I'm like, wow, most of these people are actually decent people. And the decent people, by the way, that are over in the Middle East, they don't actually come to the United States. They don't enjoy it. It's not their thing. So we get left with the drebs that are almost an outcast to the societies they have over in the Middle East. And am I saying that the Middle East countries are run well? No, I'm not. They're the haves and the have-nots, the same as in the United States. It's actually a little bit worse because there they can just gun you down in the middle of the street for poaching. Not something you can kind of do in the United States without a whole lot of repercussions or a Rodney King moment. But they largely have, the haves have immunity, just like they do in the United States. No difference. System's the same. But as we look at what's happening in the United States, it's hard to ignore. It's hard to ignore that the cartel protects itself at all costs. I want to put this up because this is important for you to understand. Dr. Paul Thomas was a doctor that was a pediatric doctor. And he was curious because he kept being told to give his patients vaccines. And he was really torn by it. He was torn by the science. He had read all the scientific reports. He had done all the information related to those reports, and it all had to do with vaccines. So he published a peer-reviewed study of all the kids that came through his practice that had vaccines or didn't have vaccines. And here's what he came to. Let's play it.
And over the next decade, as more and more patients chose not to vaccinate, I got to see the difference. But I wanted to see, could I prove it? So we got all the data from my practice. We looked at every baby born into my practice and published it in an international journal of public health. What we found, and that study was peer-reviewed, it was robust, we found massive increases. I mean, we're talking 400 to 500% more. Allergies, autoimmune conditions, neurodevelopmental issues, and then we had infections of all kinds, massively increased in the vaccinated compared to the unvaccinated. What happened when I published that study? Within days of it being available online, I get a call from my attorney. Don't go see any patients, don't write any prescriptions, don't go into the office. Your license has been emergently suspended. You are a threat to public health.
What's today?
Today, it is the last time I will be doing clinical medicine in Oregon. Knowing that you guys are keeping it going, the heart of this place lives on.
Summarily emergency suspension for taking information, putting it into a report, collecting that information, and then publishing it to the people. He was found to be a threat to public safety. What's the threat to public safety? He just published the information that he had directly correlated to his people inside of his own environment. You are a slave. You think somewhere along the line that we're not going to get to a place where it gets so bad that they just kill you off one by one. They're coming for us one by one. There's no difference between World War II and what we're experiencing right now. I mean, you had an investigator that was murdered in Fairfax County, Virginia. They call it a suicide, but it wasn't a suicide. It was a homicide. But the federal government tried to walk in and say, obviously, the CIA influences it. Oh, it must have been a suicide. Everywhere we turn, I mean, we are dealing with more and more diabolical behavior, and we just keep becoming victims of these people. While they make up stories about other nations and they operate with impunity and they stuff their faces full of money and power. And let's not forget what they said in the World Economic Forum, what this slob said in 2024. They have to tell you what's coming. Steve, what's his name? Bill Gates did. He told you. Now you have the Klaus Schwab telling you what's coming next. Transhumanism. Play it.
I think we have to be prepared for a world where we see a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological dimensions. So it will be a world integrating the physical, biological, and the digital dimensions. So it will be a new world.
A new world. Are you going to put up with it? Are you going to take it? You let them steal from you? I can tell you right now, I have no appetite. I have no appetite for the rot that we're experiencing. And it's right in front of us. We have it all. We have it all as they lie to you, as they create a story, and then they control the outcome of the media. They control it. They control how many people see it, who sees it, how many people see it. That's why it's so important for you to share. That's why I tell you to share, is because the only person that can break the algorithm is you. The only person that can break this hold on information is you. The only person that can be out there and articulate the things that we're talking about is you. You're the only one that can do that. I can't do it for you. Now let's quickly just walk through this last bit here as we kind of go through the process. Vivek is running for governor in Ohio. He's running against Casey. Casey ran a great race and frankly got 30% of the vote. You don't know it's real though, because it's all stolen elections. It's all fraudulent. But here is Vivek showing his true colors. This is what happens. This is the true colors. It just comes through every now and then, but we get a little bit of a glimpse. Take a look.
The truth of the matter is, no matter what happens in whichever direction we go, people of my generation have already made it. We're going to be fine. It's going to be your generation that pays the price. That choice belongs to you.
You're a political cretin, and you need to get the fuck out of here.
I want you to hear what he said. Regardless of what direction it goes, my generation is going to be fine. When you join the cartel, you'll be fine. Let me tell you how scary that is. Just repeat it again. Let's go backwards and forwards for a minute. Go back. No matter what happens, what direction we go. And he's talking to young people. He's like, regardless of what way you go, we're going to be fine. You, on the other hand, you're going to get miserably destroyed because you're not prepared for what's ahead of you. That's what he was saying. Now, how do you feel, slave? How do you feel? And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Politicians will not pay the price for the damage that's done. The elite will not pay the price for the damage that's done. Children will pay the price. The next generation will pay the price. And our cowardice and our lack of effort in order to solve the evil that we have, including what President Trump is not doing and what he is doing. And I'm sure he's playing the patient game and he's got his finger on that button. And I support President Trump 100%. I don't like going into Iran, but I also don't have all of the information. I pray that it's all good, that we're doing it for the right reasons. But I'm not the one with I'm not at the wheel. I don't get to see those things. I can see what's happening in the elections. I can see what's happening to our children. I can see the degradation that we have inside of that he's insulated from. His children are insulated from it. You think at the best private schools out there, they're talking about transgenderism? Absolutely not. They're not. Unless you're a bunch of crazy people. That's why the people inside of President Trump's family are all normal people for the most part. And I'm sure one or two of them does drugs. Great. Who cares? There's a little cocaine there. I don't do drugs, haven't done drugs, but I'm sure that that's true. But in large part, his family is normal. They're not derelicts at all. I mean, there's really no part of the Trump family that's a derelict. I mean, you could argue that his niece is a little bit of a derelict, radical leftist that she became. But the people closely associated with President Trump have walked a very patient path. They're all normal. Now, can you say that same thing about Kamala Harris? Or can you say that same thing about Barack Obama? Can you say that same thing about even the Bushes? Man. No, because evil eats itself at some point. Evil consumes. It takes out different parts of the family over time. So I believe President Trump will do the right thing. I believe he is doing the right thing. I also believe that two things can be true at the same time. That we can have a rotted apparatus and still, somewhere along the line, get things accomplished if the people are willing to stand in the gap and do the right thing. the Gideon 300? Are we willing to stand for each other? I think it's time for David Clements and I to go back on the road. I think it's time for us to go back on the road and talk about the Gideon 300 and how we organize from community to community and the importance of standing as your brother and sister's keeper. I think it's important. And I certainly could take what we are right now and say we're in a very grave state. While also at the same time saying we still have blessings right now. So far, they're shrinking. You can see it every day. Highest interest rates they've been in forever. Low consumer confidence. We have this increase in foreclosures. AI is taking jobs. A lot of things are happening right now. You just got to figure out what you're willing to protect and what you're not willing to protect. I guess that's where it all just comes to a head. All right. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. We're now on Amazon. We're now on Roku. We're now on all the different platforms. We got a couple more platforms we're going to add to. I do rely on you to actually do the sharing. They're doing everything they can to kind of shut us down. It's been kind of great not to get shut down in certain areas. We also have the website, untamednation.com. And again, you can go give us a little thumbs up if you're depending on what platform you are. We're going to work on YouTube. I've been shadow banned in so many ways on YouTube. Agreed. Rotted to the core judicial OARC that does not regular. OARC does not regulate the corruption. It's so deep. That's create joy. I agree with you fully. And then does Joe really speak Arabic? He says he does all the time, but I find that hard to believe. Well, who are you? Let me see who you are. I'm out of practice, but I still, yes, I still actually understand probably more than I speak. And I spent a little bit of time going through and getting back into the different parts of Rosetta Stone. I still have the old Rosetta Stone deal. I did it for a couple weeks. But yes, you find that hard to believe. Okay, well, you find that hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that you find it hard to believe. But there you go. Yeah, so we'll work on YouTube next, I think. We'll see how it goes. So maybe I should really brush up on it, and then I'll come back and I'll just have a whole conversation with you in Arabic. How's that? We'll do that. With that said, what else do we have there? What is that? Sorry, hold on a second. I have something that I think I want to share with you. Oh, so we have something that we're going to actually post. I'm sorry, I totally forgot about that. We have something we're going to post, which will be the fraud on the court. It was a motion that was filed yesterday. I'm going to put it out for you guys to all go through. It is Wreck-It Ralph. And basically, Eric Coomer lied over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the chilling effect that Beller, along with Gilman and Melissa Hart, because they have this little cabal going on at JAG, right? They can just do whatever they want, act with impunity. It's like a club for Team Evil, right? JAG is disgusting. It's disgusting. There's a lot of disgusting people there that just end up there. They're disgraced in one way or another, come in and like, I'll just go work for JAG. But the bottom line is that we filed this, and David Beller decided that he wanted to, he keeps threatening sanctions, and the special master keeps giving sanctions to them. It's as if they already know what's going to happen, because they're like, we'll just keep punishing you for actually doing what you should do. And every time you do something, we're going to keep punishing the lawyer so they can get the lawyer off the case. That's in essence what happens. I mean, it's basically judicial misconduct. I'm not going to take much more of it, frankly. And I think at some point, something's going to have to break. But the reality of it is we've been able to uncover a conspiracy inside of the judicial, inside of the city and county of Denver, in the state of Colorado, that is really run by this cartel. It's as obvious can be. And so I'll be publishing it. I handed it off to a couple of journalists so they can actually publish it as well. And it's as clean. All the emails that came out from Sheriff Darleaf show that Eric Coomer was directly involved in getting inside the systems and had full access, even contrary to him lying to get President Trump indicted in Georgia and lying about the fact that he wasn't on a call and lying about the fact that they didn't affect the outcome, which we definitely know that Dominion affected the outcome. And who was the head of the snake? Eric Coomer. Who was the chief architect? Eric Coomer. Who was the guy that was there for 16 years? Eric Coomer. By the way, who was the guy that they didn't have forward facing, that nobody knew? He wasn't even on the website. Eric Coomer. So how'd I find him? Yeah, good question. All right, let's pray it out. Father God, thank you for the opportunity today. Thank you for our guest, Peter. Thank you for the work that he's done. Thank you for the lawsuits that he's filed. We know that we're in a precarious situation, Father. We know that it almost seems in some areas hopeless, in other areas it just seems like there's just going to be an unlikely hero that kind of presents itself. We pray that President Trump does the right thing and that the people around him can take their foot off of the throats of the American people. And the ultimate betrayal that we feel from not just the left, but from the people who say that they represent goodness inside of our country have turned out to be just as rotted and just as terrible and just a part of the same cabal that has done everything they can to steal from the American people. Father, we know that we are in bondage. We know that it has happened generationally over the last 2,000 years, and we know that sooner or later, Father, Jesus will come back here and we will have this conversation again. We just pray that, Father, we are able to restore you to our community and do the things that we need to do in order to make sure that we have a more functioning society, to get rid of the evil, to drive it into the hole. I don't know. I look at it and it just feels overwhelming. But I know, Father, that with you, anything is possible. We just bring it to you and we just ask that you put us in, Coach. Put us in a place where we can help affect change and stop this evil that we face every day. I don't even know what that looks like, but I do know that we have an obligation to bring it before you. Father, we ask you for guidance and wisdom. We ask you for strength and courage. We ask you for the patience to see it through. And we ask you to bless our leaders, bless President Trump, bless the leaders around him, that they will do what is good for the American people, do what is good for the people around the world. And Father, I just ask one last thing, and that is that the people will find a fraternity in their communities, that we can come together and we can defeat this evil with power and numbers. I say these things in Jesus' name. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. We have 25 federal judicial vacancies at the moment. 25. Man, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Yeah, we're not going to show that today. We'll show that on Monday. Hey guys, have a great weekend. And I will see you on Monday. And remember to spend time with your family. Other than that, God bless you. We'll see you soon.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again, Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild forever.